So, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back again. This is Unesh, and welcome Matt Mazur from Preceden to this live stream. Thank you, Matt, and welcome to our live stream.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you to giving us time to present this Preceden, right? So, first of all, let's talk about you. Introduce yourself because I think audience would like to know about yourself.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Again, my name's Matt Mazer. I live in North Carolina in the United States. And yeah, I'm primarily a developer and data analyst by training, but I was also in the US Air Force back in the day, and I served as a project manager there. And I I was in charge of managing a lot of like really large, complex projects, and it was often hard to keep track of all the moving pieces in these projects. And so the way that we would communicate these project statuses to our teams is to create PowerPoint slides and try to manipulate shapes on the screen to create these timelines. And we also use a lot of bloated tools like Microsoft Project. And if you've ever used these really heavy project management tools like that, you know how difficult it can be to use them and learn them. So I saw a lot of people struggling with this, and that's why I created Precedent to make it easier to create these kind of visual timelines to help yourself get organized and align your team. And we have time to get into all that more as we go through this.
Okay, so you are already from the project management field, so you know what is needed, right? Now let's
Yeah.
come to Proceed and what it does and how can it help businesses, right?
Yeah, so Precedent is a web-based timeline maker and road mapping tool. And so if you are involved in a business and you have projects that you're managing, or maybe it's an upcoming product launch, Precedent is a great tool to create these visual timelines so that you can clearly show your audience all the moving pieces, and it makes it easy for them to kind of visualize your plan, visualize the project status. You can identify gaps in any of your plans and hopefully help you reach your milestones on time.
Okay. Uh, just give me a minute so I'll confirm that we are live at all the 4 to 5 places, right? Just
Yeah,
give me a
sounds good.
second. And besides that, guys, any one of you who are listening right now live, please allow Be Live to show your name inside the comment box because we can see your name if you don't allow Facebook to show your names, right? Okay, so we are live at my profile. Let me confirm that we are live also in groups and pages, right? So, yeah, we are live. And so, guys, if you want to check out the tool, I'll be giving the link in the comment box right now. Yeah, Vishnu. Yeah, we can see your name. Vishnu, welcome to the stream. And I think I didn't link D link is not there in the description. I added anyway. Well, I'm leaving in the comment box of all of the places. So guys, you can go and check out the deal over there. And yes, Matt, you can proceed and show us precedent how it works and how it can help, right?
Sounds great. Give me one moment to screen share.
Yeah.
All right. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, I'll just push to the stream, right? Yeah, it's on the stream already.
Great. So this is an example of a timeline that you can create with Precedent. Now, when people hear the word timeline, different people are going to have different images in their head for what a timeline looks like. This is a common example of a timeline that you can create with Precedent. And in a moment, I'll show you a few other examples of different layouts and styles that you can create. So this is an example project timeline. So you can imagine that you have this big launch coming up in a few months. And again, you have all these different moving pieces. So Precedent is a great way to visualize all those moving pieces. The kind of key terms to know with Precedent is that there are events, and events are the individual items on the timeline. So in this case, launch, development, beta testing, etc. And layers. Layers are these horizontal groups of events. And the reason that layers are really cool is that they let you keep related events organized together on your timeline so that instead of all of these events just kind of being jumbled together, we can organize them clearly in these layers. And in this case, these layers represent product, quality assurance, and marketing, but they can really represent anything depending on what type of timeline you're you're creating and how you want to convey the information going on there. For example, you could have layers for specific people, and then the events in those layers could be the tasks that those people have to complete. Alternatively, you can lay it out like this, where these are different departments and the tasks in there are related to that department. So let me before we dive into the functionality, let me just show you a few other examples so you can have them in the back of your head. So notice in this timeline here, we've got the 3 layers and we have the axis at the top of the timeline. But Preceden also lets you create timelines like this, where there's a horizontal bar down the middle of the timeline, and then the layers are on top and below. And similarly, you can just kind of keep your timeline organized by taking advantage of those layers. So here we're looking at a marketing plan for a made-up company. Preceden is heavily used by project managers and marketers, but it's also used for a variety of other use cases as well. So for example, a lot of lawyers use it and people use it to visualize legal matters in their lives. This is a simple timeline just showing an example of the history of a loan that maybe is being litigated, and the lawyer involved needs a timeline. Again, this is just an example. I'm not showing you a real timeline that somebody has created. This is another example. This is just the graduate education timeline. Unlike the other timelines, this timeline does have an image on it. So Preceden does support images as well. And this timeline also has the axis set to be at the top of each layer. This is kind of a personal use timeline. You can imagine you're going to do a big hiking trip, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in this case, and you want to visualize all of your plans for that project. A lot of authors also use Preceden. Fiction authors use it to create timelines to hold their fictional worlds together. So they're often making up these elaborate plot lines, and they need a way to keep track of all the characters' lives and different events in their stories. And a lot of nonfiction authors also use Preceden for research. This is an example of a nonfiction timeline just representing World War II. And you can also imagine that this is useful for a lot of teachers and students who are studying history, because it lets you add these events to the timeline and you can easily see how they all line up in time. For example, you can see World War II here and where the attack on Pearl Harbor lines up in the course of World War II, and who different leadership in the world was at that time. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what Preceden is capable of and the different type of timelines that you can create with it. Again, it is heavily used by project managers, but if you have other timelines that you need in your personal or work life, Preceden can probably be a good fit for those as well. All right, so let me jump back to that original timeline and show you a little bit more about how it works. So let's say we want to add an event to this timeline. There's a couple ways that we can do that. We can just click add event here, but if we already know which layer that we want to add the event to, we can actually just hover over the layer and this little plus sign will appear and we can click it. And that's going to bring up the add event interface and default to the layer that we just clicked, saving us a little bit of work. So let's give this event a name like Google Ads campaign. And for the start date, we can either type in a date, and it could even include a time if we wanted to, but let's just stick with the date for now. Let's go ahead and say like August 1st, this campaign is starting. And really that's all we need to add this event to the timeline. Preceden will happily accept this event, even though it doesn't have an end date, in which case it would just display an icon on the timeline. But let's go ahead and add a duration to this, because something like a Google Ads campaign will usually have a duration to it. So we could use the date picker here, but Preceden also makes it easy to do something like you just type in 12 weeks. You can type in the duration here, and Preceden will automatically figure out when it ends. That way you don't have to go and count weeks on your timeline. So let's go ahead and add this now. And there we have it. We can see that Preceden went ahead and added this event to the marketing layer. It put it in a position that makes sense based on its start date. And for a lot of project plans, they're not going to be fixed. They're going to be fluid. They're going to be changing as the project progresses. So let's say that this campaign was ongoing, but maybe your organization decided to extend it. We can go ahead here and just change that to, let's say, 16 weeks. and Preceden will just go ahead and update that on the timeline. We could also do it directly from the timeline by just dragging the start or end date, and we could also just drag the entire event to reposition it completely. You'll notice that some of these events are darkened partially, and that's because we've set a percent complete on them. It's entirely optional, but if you do have an event that you want to visually indicate how far along it is, you can go into the event, go to more options, and say like it's 65% complete. And then Precedent's going to take care of shading the bar accordingly, and it'll also show in the timeline what percent complete it is. So again, this add event, this will just bring you to the normal kind of add event interface. You can also click the plus sign here to start adding the event directly to a layer. And we've also got this bulk editor interface. And this is a spreadsheet-like interface that lets you quickly add and edit events on your timeline. It doesn't have all the functionality as that other interface we were just looking at, but for just quickly adding events and their key information like their name, start and end date, color and icon and notes, you can do all of that from this interface. So if you already have those events in mind and you just want a quick way to add them to your timeline, this can be a quicker way to do it than that other interface that we were looking at. I'll show you two. So again, we have product quality assurance and marketing. Let's say we wanted to add another layer to this timeline. We could just click add layer here, give it a name. Let's call it sales. There's different options for determining like where that layer actually goes on your timeline. And let's give it a color since all the other layers on here have a color as well. And so you can see here now we have a sales layer, and we won't add anything to this just because you just saw that, but just to give you a sense of it, like we could completely reposition that on the timeline, and Precedent will go ahead and do that for us. And if we decided to, maybe we don't need this layer, we can just go ahead and click delete, and Precedent will delete it from the timeline for us. So this timeline that we're looking at here, there are a lot of different ways that we can customize it, and really any Precedent timeline. Just to give you a sense of what's possible, if we click up to appearance here, it'll take us into this interface that lets us customize the timeline in a wide variety of ways. For example, if we go to colors here, let's say, notice right now that this layer is blue, the background of it is also this lighter blue, and the events in it are blue as well. And that's because of these options that are checked here. But I could uncheck this, apply the layer color to the layer's background, and it's going to stop shading all the layers blue. And let's say now, instead of this gray background, let's say we want to make it white, or maybe we want to make it dark blue or even black. Again, this is going to depend a lot on your personal taste. There's no right or wrong settings here, but to different people and for different types of timelines, different settings might look better or worse. And we can also do something like this option here, override event color with the layer color. This is what's ensuring that the layer is blue and all the events in it within it are blue as well. But we could come here and uncheck that. And now these are not all going to be the same color as the layer. We'll be able to customize them individually. And so when we were looking at other timelines like this, where the events are different colors within a layer, it's because it does not have this setting checked here. But let's go ahead and keep those colors because I think it looks a little bit better on this timeline. Precedent also has these date formats. So depending on your audience, where you live in the world, these date formats might be different, or you might desire something else for your timeline. Like right now we're doing this 8 July format, but we could also, let's say we wanted to include the year also. We could do something like that, and then it would include the year in here as well. And you can see there's lots of different options depending on the type of timeline. We could also change the date picker format. We can change the language of the dates that are displayed on the timeline. We could change the week start from Monday to Sunday and customize how quarters are displayed. Let's go ahead and change this back. I'll show you a few other options while we're in here. Again, events, right now we have the event names, the event dates displayed on the timeline and the percent complete. There's no image on here, so this one doesn't apply, but we could also say like, let's include the durations on here. And now Precedent will show how long these events are lasting on the timeline. Let's get rid of that for now. Let's see. Some of these don't apply here, like duration format. if we do display the duration, notice this is like 6 months and 25 days, but for some type of timelines, you might want to just display the number of days here and not the months and days. A few other things. This layer name position, right now these layer names are on the left, but we could go ahead and place it at the top of the timeline. Again, that might be a better fit for your timeline. We can also automatically compress layers, which is going to flatten the timeline as much as possible without having any overlap on the content. We're not going to go through all of these, but we can change the font to a variety of things. We can add a legend on this timeline to indicate what different colors represent. We could add a logo. Let me go ahead and show you a few other things. We'll go back to that original timeline. One thing I want to note is that Preceden, unlike many other tools, most other tools that have timeline capabilities, it lets you indicate that the dates are approximate. And what that will do is shade the start and end of the bar on the timeline to indicate to you and to anybody viewing this timeline that the dates are not set in stone. Preceden also has this connections feature. So let's look at this Google Ads campaign, and let's say we want to tie it to launch here. And by tie it, I mean just visually connect it on the timeline. So we can go to connected events, select launch, and now Preceden is going to draw this line between launch and this event that we chose. And we can see that there's another connection up here as well. And we won't dive into it all, but there's also other functionality. Like we could say we only want this event to start when another event ends. And that can save you some work typing in a date. And it will also make it easy for more fluid timelines where event B always has to start when event A finishes. We can set up the timeline like that. And then if we change event A's dates on the timeline, all the events that depend on that will get updated accordingly. I'll show you also, because we have an end date, it's going to display that bar on the timeline. But if we wanted to say this is just a moment in time, like Google Ads campaign kickoff is on September 8th, we could get rid of the end date, and then we could choose an icon here. There's over 120 icons to choose from, so we could go here and say like, let's give this a rocket since it represents a kickoff event. And now instead of that horizontal bar on the timeline, Preceden's going to display that rocket instead. So this timeline right now is behind this secret URL, which means there's this URL and it's got this kind of random number associated with it. So if you share this URL with that correct number, anybody who has this URL is going to be able to view your timeline. But if anybody else tries to access it and they don't have this URL with this secret code in it, they're not going to be able to view it. So this is a good way to share your timeline with specific people, but without making it available to the entire internet. There are other options too, though. We could make it public, in which case anybody would be able to see it. We can make it private, in which case only yourself would be able to see it. We could also add a password to this so that anybody who tries to access it is going to be prompted for a password, and they'll only be able to see it if they have that password. Preceden does support collaboration as well. So if you want to invite people to contribute to this timeline, Preceden does have this collaboration feature that lets us do that. For example, I could invite you to contribute to this timeline, and you would be able to get into this timeline, add events to it, modify it, but you wouldn't be able to see or contribute to any of the other timelines on my account or vice versa. Preceden also does have this Teams feature, and that lets you invite other people in your organization to your account, and they'll be able to create timelines of their own, and you'll be able to see all their timelines and contribute to them, and they'll also be able to see and contribute to all of your timelines. So depending on your use case, like if you just want to invite specific people to specific timelines, Preceden has a way to do that. But if you're also part of a team and you want to be able to automatically see all their timelines and then all of your timelines, Preceden has ways to do that. We also have a variety of ways to share this timeline when you're ready, whether maybe because it's done or maybe it's just because you want to share an in-progress version. You can download it as a PDF, which you can also print. You can download it as a PNG image. You can download it as an image that's optimized to be embedded in these PowerPoint or Keynote. There's also presentation mode, which will bring up your timeline in the web browser, but hide the rest of the Preceden's interface. So if you're in a meeting and you just want to present the timeline and not have the other UI on it, Preceden lets you do that. You can also obviously share it with a link. You can embed it as an iframe in other websites. You can download it as a spreadsheet. And there's also a way to re-import that spreadsheet into Preceden so that if you want to modify the content of your timeline in Excel, for example, you can go ahead and do that and then update your timeline accordingly. I'll show you also, if you click timelines here, it's going to take you to your dashboard. And this is where you can see all the timelines that you have created or have access to. And one last thing is this create timeline. This is the first thing that you'll see when going to create a timeline. You have to do basic things like give it a name and choose whether you want it to be private or not. But we also provide these different themes that let you kickstart your visualization, meaning you can start with a blank timeline and choose a different color that you want with it. Or you can choose one of these multi-layered ones, and also you can choose different colors with that. In either case, the timeline is not going to have these events on it when you start it, and that's because we found that it's simpler for people to just add their content to a blank timeline than to take a timeline with a bunch of existing content and modify it. So this is all that we've seen from this to the interface itself. We've tried to put a lot of time and attention into the details to make this as easy as possible for you to create a timeline. So unlike a tool like Microsoft Project or some of these more bloated, full-fledged project management tools, you'll be able to create a visualization much easier with Preceden, and there's not going to be a steep learning curve associated with it. Really, everything in the product is focused on creating that timeline. A lot of other tools, the visualization is an afterthought and has very limited customization options. But because we've decided to focus entirely on the timelines with Preceden, we're able to go very deep and give you a lot of ways to customize the look and feel so that you can create a professional timeline that you're really happy with. So that's the core product. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, sure. We'll take the comments. There are a few of them inside the comment box. So I think we should take the comments, or I would like to talk about some use cases also. So
Yeah.
either we should do it before or after the comments reply, right? Let's answer the comments. So if there is any follow-up question, then it can come, right?
Sounds great.
So there is someone's comment, interesting tool, but we can't see name. Please allow Be Live, right, from Facebook to show your names. Okay, interesting tool. Thank you. Thank you for your interest. And Vishnu Jawahar says, looks awesome. Thank you, Vishnu.
Thank you.
There's one question from an unknown user, Facebook user. Can I track this against actual time taken?
What you could, Preceden doesn't have a built-in way to do that. Like it's not, I wouldn't consider it a time tracking tool, but what you could do is you could create this timeline, maybe at the start of your project, where you lay out how long you think all these different tasks will take in your timeline. And then you could track how much time those actually take and then update your timeline accordingly, or maybe you could add as notes on the events how long it actually took, and then kind of it would be a manual process, but you could compare how long they actually took to how long you thought they were going to take.
So we have another question from, I don't know, it's the same or someone else. Can there be more than one admin for one timeline?
If you are on one of those multi-user plans where everybody on your team can see and contribute to your timelines, they're effectively admins. They're going to be able to do almost anything to your timeline that you would be able to do. So if you're on a team and nobody's going to be goofing off and going in.
So every team member is like admin for every timeline.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
this is the multi-user plans are good for use cases where you're in an organization where you trust everybody and they're not going to go in and mess with your timeline.
Yeah, sure, because it's a team, right? So it's yeah.
Exactly.
Now let's move to the next comment. Is I assume that I can send it to some recipients as read only. I think this can be done with that presentation mode or creating the link as public, right?
Yeah, you can. If you're comfortable with your timeline being public, yes, you can make a timeline and just share a link. Or if you use that secret URL or password protected visibility, that will let you share your timeline with somebody. not
Yeah.
have it be accessible on the entire internet, and yes, it will be read only.
Okay. So I think if you want to share a specific person, then it's better to create a password and give that person the password to access this timeline, right?
Right.
So
That
it
would be the most secure way to do it.
okay.
It's a little more work for them because then they're going to have to type in that password. So the
Yeah.
next layer would be the secret URL, where you just give them the URL with that secret code in it, and they'll be able to see it with just that URL.
Okay. One more question is it's long one. Manual timeline percentage update. Is there any way to update percentage based on tasks completed from other project management apps, API or integrations?
It's a great question. Preceden does not have any automatic integrations at the moment, so you can't connect it to these third-party tools and visualize that data on your timeline. A lot of folks have requested this, especially this week with this Appsumo deal going on, and so it's definitely something that's on my mind and something that I want to tackle in the near-term future.
Okay. That's really a good question because I also wrote down one of this question that how is task management managed within synced with this timeline, right? If I want to create some task list for particular team members under certain layer, right? So is it possible inside this?
You would have to manually add it to your
Okay,
timeline. If you have it in a third-party tool, there's no way to automatically pull that into Preceden and visualize it there. But
okay.
I do love the idea, and it's something that I want to knock out at some point and work with
Yeah,
my team.
that can add one more section inside Precedent that's of task management like Trello board for team
Mhm.
members at the back end of timeline, right?
Yeah. hmm Yeah, currently the way that a lot of project managers use it is they're not replacing their current project management tool with Precedent.
Okay,
Instead, Precedent is a tool that's an additional tool part of their stack where they can use it to create these high-level visualizations to present to their team and to other stakeholders in the
okay,
organization.
okay.
But it's
Um,
not meant to be a full-fledged replacement for their existing project
yeah,
management.
yeah. Thank you. How about export and import of data?
Yep. There's as you might have seen, there's a variety of ways to export your timeline, whether it be to PDF or image. You could also export it as a CSV or Excel file, and you can also import from a CSV file as well.
Okay, and the integrations, I think we already talked about it, but still, if you have any type of integrations inside uh, this for
I'm keeping track of requests for specific tools that people want integrations with. So if you have integrations on your mind, feel free to add
I
as a
think
comment.
one should be integration of a webhook or something like that to just remind the dead end, right? That there are 3 days left for this particular task. That would
Yep.
be a great addition,
Yep.
right?
I've had a few requests for Google Sheets as well. So
Yeah.
you all saw that bulk editor, but some people want to be able to just keep their data in like a Google Sheet and have Precedent automatically visualize it from that. So that's probably going to be one of the first integrations we have.
Okay, so we have one more comment. Entering 12 weeks instead of selecting days is really good option. Kudos.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one thing I didn't mention is you can also just type in present for the end date, and then Precedent will automatically just use the current date and time. And so that's good for events that are ongoing. So you don't have to keep updating your timeline to reflect that it's going
Okay.
on.
We have Justin. I'm glad that I'm getting a second look slash walkthrough for this tool. It is really interesting and there is more than meets the eye. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's funny. Precedent used to have a lot more features, but over time we have really tried to simplify the product and really just focus on the core use case that people are using it for.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to compete with the Microsoft projects and base camps of the world. We really wanted to just be the best tool in the world for creating these timeline visualizations and really nail that use case.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay. Again, Justin says, I started playing with Precedent yesterday and I have a project right now where I think it is going to be a perfect fit. Just trying to figure out how to translate a critical path built in Excel into Precedent.
Great. If you run into any issues, feel free to reach out, help@precedent.com, and be happy to chat with you about it. We can even jump on a call if you would find it useful.
Yeah, sure, Justine. Make sure you reach out to team, right? And yeah, we have one more comment from what is name? Chennakareshwarao Veera. Uh, sorry if I'm pronouncing anything wrong, right? It's well nice to have only inside slash team only events on shared public links. This will helpful for team. Did you got it? I think it's mixing two of things, right?
Um, I'm not
It's
sure about
nice to have only inside team only events on shared public links. Means I think if you want to show only to team, then you should not create public link. That's the thing over here.
yeah,
And if you want to keep two different timelines, then just create two, one for public and one for your team. That will be better for this.
yeah, yeah. For most people using Precedent for work-related reasons, they're not making their timelines public. They're usually keeping it private or a secret URL or password protected. Um, and Precedent will default your timeline to being private unless you sign up and you say you're a student, because most students don't.
Okay, again, there is one unknown user. We can't see your name, guys. Please allow BeLive to uh, show your name, right? I'm buying this right away. Thank you. You can go on the link below in the comment box. I've left already. I think uh, in group I manually also posted in the comment box, so you can go and check out the deal and get the plan most suitable for you. Thank you
Thank,
for this.
thank you,
Again, we
Anonymous.
have Chenna Ganeshwarao. This looks like full-fledged all things timeline with customization. Yeah, you can customize with colors, fonts, and everything, right? As we just saw in the live demo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll add too that
Okay. Uh,
I'll add that unlike a lot of these deals, Precedent actually has been around a long time. We launched it in 2010, so it's been around for 12 years. So it's not a product that's going to be going away anytime soon. Hopefully never. And I hope I'm still working on it 12 years from now.
Okay, so we have comment from that's Wenky, right? Yeah, so we can see your name. I am unable to give access to BeLive. I think this happened once with me also, right? This happened, right? Okay. So
Would
there's one request for Google Sheet integration. It's already mentioned by Matt that they are keeping track of all of the integration requests so they can provide respectively, right?
Yeah. And
And
if we have a moment after the question and answers, I'll quickly show the Appsumo deal just to talk through what the different tiers are
yeah,
in case.
yeah, sure. We will go to that. And there are just two of comment left. We'll cover it. Again, Justin, integrations Infinity. Infinity is a project management tool, so there is a request to add it. Even though Infinity has similar features, also Excel and Google Sheets. So what he's saying, what understood is that Infinity already has timeline inbuilt. So I think don't you don't need this, right? But if you want full focused on timeline tool, so you have more customization than normal, you can definitely use Preceden. And if it's integrated with Infinity, it's good, right?
Yep. I just made a note that you requested that integration, so thank you.
Would would you say this is internal tool or external facing tool for sharing progress timeline? What's your focus?
Uh, it's both, really. There are project managers who use Precedent and don't share with anybody. It's just for themselves. They just need a way to keep track of all those moving pieces in their head and use it to identify gaps for themselves. But many do that and also share it with their team. They share it with executives. They present it during board meetings. So it really just kind of depends on your use case. You can use it entirely by yourself, but you can also share with your team as you see fit.
Okay, so let's move on to the use cases. While you were presenting the tool and I was watching it, so some thoughts of use cases came in my mind for this particular tool. One of them you already mentioned to explain a history timeline. If someone is giving a session on history, like is a YouTuber or let's say a teacher, right? So it's very good to create a timeline before the session, right? So they don't need to create a whole presentation if it's all focused on one timeline, right? So they don't need multiple slides, only one slide will work for them, right? So
Yeah.
that's one of the use case. One of the next is for bloggers or let's say video content creators, YouTubers. They can plan their niche content on this timeline, that these 2 months we are going to focus on these type of videos or like these type of articles and all that, right? And even content writers can keep track of that, multiple who runs multiple niche blogs, right? So that also popped in my mind. One more thing that came in my mind was event schedule, right? If someone is creating a short timeline of 2 to 3 days, it's possible, right? Inside this,
Correct. Yeah,
that,
you
that
can.
we have this 2 hour session on this topic, then this 1 hour for this topic. So it can also be created on one page of the whole event plan in the timeline format.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, all the examples we looked at, the date we were looking at events with specific dates, but we could also type in a time in there. So if we have a project that's going to last 1 day or 2 days, and events are going to be lasting several hours, it's easy to visualize that with precedent
Okay,
as well.
so these were the 2 3 use cases just popped in my mind, so I felt that I should keep in public, right? And
Yeah,
you can confirm that that's possible, right? That's the thing.
yeah,
Okay, so
very
now
good.
you can proceed with the deal page if you want to show, right?
Yeah, just briefly. Give me one moment. All right, so you all are obviously welcome to check this out on your own time if you'd like, but I just want to talk through it real quick. Um, it'll cover a lot of things that we talked about today. These are the different tiers. So there's a 59, 119, and 199 tier. There's three of them total. This first tier, if you're going to be using Preceden by yourself and you're not going to be working with a large team and you're not going to need a lot of timelines, then this tier one's going to be great for you. The tier 2 and tier 3 are for power users who are going to be creating a lot of timelines, or people who are going to be working on teams. I'd say tier 2 is probably good for a medium-sized team, and tier 3 is good for a large team. Or again, if you're a power user, if you're an individual and you're just going to be having lots of timelines, then tier 2 or tier 3 are going to be good options. And yeah, you all have asked a lot of great questions, but there's also some questions on here and a few reviews. If you do wind up purchasing it, I would very much appreciate if you could leave a review on here. Appsumo gives a lot of weight to products to get reviews, and so if you found this demo useful, if you find Preceden useful, I would very much appreciate a review, even if it's just 2 or 3 sentences. Thank you. I don't think I can hear you.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. So now you can hear me.
Yep, you're good.
Yeah. So there are a couple of more comments. One of them is from Milan. Hi, Milan. Welcome to this webinar or live stream. Right. One comment is from again chennaira Varao, and it is history timeline and event timeline is very good use case. Didn't think of them. Yeah, I think that's a really good use case. Especially that one also for content creators, right? Because to keep track on, let's say, I'm not talking about the beginners who are just beginning blogger who only have one blog, or let's say only one beginner with a less subscriber YouTube channel or like that, but the people who are doing specific niche channels or niche blogs, they actually manage multiple blogs, and they hire content writers for multiple niches to write articles, and they have a specific timeline to uh, like dead end to complete those content and make it published, right? So that's a really good thing. And yeah, limit is so good, I talk it several times. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Milan. Yeah, Milan, that was for a minute. I think I was on mute, then I unmuted myself, right? So yeah, it's now our favorite time, and that's giveaway, right? Are you ready, guys? Tell me in the comment box. But it's a difficult task for me to take all the names in the comments. And so how shall we pick up the winner? One option is that we pick up all of the names, put it on a flywheel, and we give a random spin, and it will end at or stop at one specific name. One of them is that, and one way is to pick up a winner from questions, best questions you like from someone, whatever you like, right, Matt? It's up to you.
Let's see.
Uh,
Um,
uh, It can be a random. It can be of best question. Anything you want to proceed with.
Yeah. If we do the random, you're gonna have to type all the names into the tool,
Yeah,
right?
that's just a minute task and always fun, right? No
All
problem with
right.
it.
I kind of want to see that. So let's do that.
Okay. So let me share my screen and first random pick review. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen and
While you're getting that set up, I'll just add that this giveaway is for Preceden's business plan, which is equivalent to tier 3
oh,
on the deal. And so, unlike some other tools that do giveaways for like their lowest tier, this is actually for the full product. You're not going to be limited.
okay. So it's a highest plan, right? Or
Correct.
mid, right? Or which
Yep.
plan? You said business plan.
The highest, yeah.
Highest. Okay. So guys, giveaway is for the highest plan, and this is my old one. So what I will do, I will quickly pick up the names from this studio, and yeah, we have Riaz Meman, we have Vishnu Jawahar, right? And we have again, we have Venki also with us. He commented, right? Because his name was shown, he was not able to give access to be live, right? So you will, again, this is a long name. I will just Chenna Kaneswarao. Okay, Chenna Kaneswarao. I'm typing without watching it, right? So maybe there must be a spelling mistake, but we understand who is the winner if you win, right? So no problem in that, I think. There are a couple of more people whose name I cannot see. So guys, if you can comment your name inside the comment box, so I will add you onto board, right? We have Justine Sturgis with us.
Do you have a way to just show that picker wheel window? It's I'm looking at it with you and me and that, so it's kind of small.
Okay, okay, sure. Okay. Luck game. Milan Panchal. Yeah, Milan. I will add you. Anyone left, guys? Correct me if you are not on the board. So you have a fair enough chance to win. And and okay, sorry, sir. Okay. I can. Yeah, yeah, that's good. Okay. So we have Ngok. 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 Yes, NG. Okay. Okay, that is Ali. Ali from. Okay, I added everything. Yeah, Fuang Nam. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Kaka. Milan, I already added you, right? Milan. Yes, Facebook. Someone commented Arslan. Okay. I read Arslan, right? Thank you. Okay. That's all. I added everyone. No one is left. Still, I will wait for 30 seconds of time, 30 seconds, and then we will spin this wheel, right? Okay, so we waited. No more comments. So no one is left, and we will just spin this wheel. One, two, and three. Wow. So the winner is Venki. Venki, are you on the stream? Please comment, because this is our rule that if you are not here, we will just uh, skip your name and move on to the next one, and we will pick up another winner, right? Venki, are you there? I think who is commenting this? If I want, I will give away my win. Okay, but I we can't see. Congrats, Venki. Venki, are you there? I think many people are commenting Venki, but he was not. Yeah, yeah, he's here. He's here. So Venki, congratulations, you won this lifetime deal of Preceden, and that's highest plan, right? Not the first year. So generous of Matt. Yeah, yeah. Venki, we got you, and you are the winner. Thank you for joining this stream, and yeah, that's all. I think we are done with the giveaway. So yeah, Matt, I'm adding you again in the stream. So the winner is Venki. He is a very good, our fellow community member, and he's
Great.
really active with all these things, right? So
I'll,
I hope you use this for your projects and your timeline creation, right? So thank you, Matt, for your precious time in our community for this live stream about Precedent. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, guys. See you in the next session with
yeah,
another awesome tool, right?
yeah. And I'll just say,